gonna do that over Christmas? Yeah. I'm done. I'm done. You know, just gotta go buy one. I had time to go get one. Yeah.
This time it's better because you know, wait, it's taking me a year.
Yeah, I'm gonna get them gray and black.
We will call the October the 17th recess meeting of the DeSoto County Board of Education to order. First item of business on the agenda is pledge of allegiance to the flag, which will be given by Ann Morgan Hasselman, 6th grade at Fernanda Middle School. You stand, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good job. Great job.
Great job.
Next item of business on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda before us this evening? Not, your recommendation,
Mr. President, I recommend to the board to approve the agenda.
okay, based on Mr. Usleton's recommendation to approve the agenda, do we have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Motion having been made, we will have a second.
Second.
Motion and second having been made, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Nay. Ayes have it, the agenda is approved. Next item of business is the superintendent's report. Mr. Arthur.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've got 4 items this afternoon. Before we get started with it, you'll see the screen. It's the Bullying Prevention and Awareness Month, and that's the reason we got a lot of blue and orange here today. I appreciate our board members participating in this. And Mr. Finley will be giving a presentation on behalf of our Department of Student Services later on in my superintendent's report. I will ask the board to please consider an early graduation request in executive session this afternoon. That's item number 1. Second of all, we will be recognizing a special group of students this afternoon. We've got many students and family members in attendance. This year, we've got 3 of our schools had the highest number of national merit semifinalists that they've ever had. And our district had the highest number of national merit semifinalists in history also. We've got 27 national merit semifinalists from around the district. And our board members wanted to meet this special group of seniors. They've been working together on this since their sophomore year. They went into, most of them went into the PSAT class, and they worked through that through their sophomore and junior year, took the PSAT test in their junior year, and then got the results back and learned that they are national merit semifinalists. So at this time, we are going to recognize these students. If I could ask Mr. Shane Jones, principal of South Haven High School, please come forward and introduce us to his students.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Before I introduce our student, I would like to also, two of our teachers for PSAT are here today. I'd like to recognize them. They do an outstanding job. Mr. Anthony Embry right here, and Ms. Julie Pasterchek. Just want to recognize them for being here. Our National Merit semifinalist from Southern High School is Mr. Jared Fontenman.
Congratulations. Great job. Let's get his teachers up here too.
Mr. Embry and Ms. Pasterchek.
Congratulations. Mr. Dwayne Case, from principal of Fernando High School.
Thank you for having us. We have two National Merit semifinalists this year. Isaac Pearl. And Matthew Robinson.
Great. Congratulations. Doug Payne from Center Hill High School.
Appreciate y'all letting us come out to recognize. We have two young men. I want to introduce their PSAT teacher first, Ms. Meredith Smith. You'll come up. Ms. Smith is now our guidance counselor, but she was their PSAT teacher, and she did a great job with them, so she wanted to come down to help celebrate this. Up first is Wyatt Edwards. Now next is William Gibson.
Congratulations. Mr. Jacob Strickland, principal of Olive Branch High School.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for recognizing these outstanding students. But before I introduce them, I'd like to introduce and ask my PSAT teachers to come up here. This is a very, very hard-working group of teachers. Ms. Kara Stevens, Ms. Chrissy Hicks, and Ms. Lisa Webb. Come up here if you would, please. This particular group of individuals, obviously, we're very proud of them. But there's one thing special I want to bring attention to. Slane, she came to Olive Branch in the first grade. So we're going to consider her part of this group as well since she came in the first grade. But all five of these individuals are Olive Branch students K through 12. So that says a lot about the community, a lot about the Olive Branch school system in general. So congratulations, students. First is Mr. Benjamin Beard. Reese Myers. Jordan Smith. And again, she is an Olive Branch Life student, Miss Lane's thing. And last, Jordan short end with.
Get where you can see me. Teachers, don't hide your face.
Mr. Chris Fleming, principal of Lewisburg High School.
Thank you again for having us. And I have Miss Maggie Dennis, Miss Tracy Hunter here to help pass these awards out. We also, Miss Tricia Clayton is another one of our PSAT teachers who wasn't able to be here tonight. They do an outstanding job. If Floyd was late, we wouldn't be able to see what you see what we're going to produce. And this is the largest number of students we've had in our school's history. So without further ado, Matthew Drummer. Miss Rachel Embry. Miss Julia Huffman. Mr. Jacob Nelson. Ms. Grace Schaefer. Ms. Morgan Smith. And Mr. Brad Wiersma.
Hey, let's get the kid up here. You have 3 lines. You want to go? Y'all gotta fill in the holes. There's a girl right there. What is it you? I can go to this one. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm okay.
Congratulations. And Mr. Cliff Johnston, principal of DeSoto Central.
Thank you, guys.
Love you.
Thank y'all for having us, to recognize these special students today. Before we begin, I want to, start by introducing our PSAT teachers, Ms. Arissa Wiley. Go to field Our first National Merit semifinalist, Mr. Will Emmich. Mr. Ben Hamilton. Mr. Alan Herring. Ms. Mackenzie House. Mr. Yusuf Mahmood. Mr. Johnny Mays. Miss Annie Fan. Mr. Keith Dickens. Miss Caitlin Wyrick. And Mr. Stephen Zombie.
All right, teachers, you get where y'all are just, shorter ladies, students. Where you can see names. Those I can't see your prize.
We get all of the National Merit semifinalists, all the students up here for one group picture.
Oh, wow.
You want them to face that way? All right, I'm just right here.
All right, so y'all come up closer. I'll go ahead and just take the mic. Just get a good shot. Get tight. If you're short, you can't see me. I can't help you. Everybody step over this thing in. Step one step that way. Now one more. One more. I don't want this thing in. It's like, hurry. Let's go. Yeah. And when your whole face is sticking out. No, we know what we're doing. We're sure I can see you. There we go. Here we go. Got it. Thank you.
Great job. Big round of applause.
On behalf of the board, let me just say this to these 27 students. Your family is immensely proud of you. Your teachers are immensely proud of you. Your individual schools are extremely proud of you. This district is blessed and proud of you. And this board is extremely proud of each and every one of you. Thank you for your accomplishments and for being here this evening.
And on behalf of our board, I'd like to once again congratulate our students and also congratulate the parents who are in attendance. I know that it's a team effort, and congratulations to the teachers and the principals at each of the schools. And so we're about to move on with the rest of the business, so if you would like to exit, now would be the best time.
Catherine Milton. It's one of his first students.
It's been a while. Still.
His grandfather was my teacher in Bill's house. They had two classes that had ethics under it and another course.
Yeah.
This time I'll ask our Director of Student Services, Mr. Marco Finley, to please come forward. We don't have quite the audience you were about to have, but we know it'll be a great presentation.
This is an assignment and test of presenting to you all what we here at DeSoto County Schools are doing for bullying prevention and awareness month. So I will share some of the things that we're doing in our schools. As you all know, that we have two major campaigns that we participate in. The first one is the World Day of Bullying Prevention. On October 7th, we encourage all of our students to wear blue, and many of our schools participate in activities on that day to bring about bullying prevention and awareness. Also, on October 23rd, 2019, we will have our Unity Day, and on that day, we encourage all our students to wear orange to unify the schools and to show that we all are one. So certain schools, most schools actually participate in both, but some may choose one over the other. Even though I'm here to talk about what we do during the month of October to bring about awareness, I still would like for you all as board members to know what we do day after day when we're dealing with these issues. And the first thing that we use to combat bullying is our counselors. They meet with students, they provide guidance lessons throughout the year, and they also teach conflict resolution. You know, you can paddle a kid, or you can suspend a kid, but if you really don't get to the bottom line or peel the layers back to see what's behind their behavior, then you're really not affecting the child, and then you'll see that student over and over again in your office. So our counselors do a wonderful job at working with students. We practice active supervision throughout our buildings. Teachers, staff members, always encouraged to keep your eyes open and to be aware of what's happening in your classroom, in the hallways during transitional times. We investigate all allegations of bullying. We hear it all the time, but if we hear of one student being bothered, then we do investigate that situation. Now, we may find at the end that it's not bullying, but at the same time, we still address the bad behavior that's presented. And also, all of our schools doing the early morning announcements, they tie in character education in order to start the day off on a positive note with the students. And I advise the students and board members, you all are aware that I'm sure that students nowadays, they live by a different code than how it even was when I was going to school. And now one code is don't snitch. And so we spend so much time telling our students, if you don't notify an adult in the building, there's absolutely nothing that we can do to solve the problem. And so we talk to parents, and that's what we hear over and over and over, but I try to stress over and over and over, we can't do anything about it unless we know about it. Then we also encourage our students to stay in groups. If there's an issue with a particular student, as a measure of safety, we may pair that student with another student during transitional time. We will notify the teachers to kind of make sure you all are monitoring the student during transition to make sure that they're being safe while they're in our schools. Now, this is the tough one that we deal with parents. We tell students, if you're being bullied online, do not reply. And we encourage parents over and over and over to take the students off social media, but they feel if they put them away from social media, you take part of their life away from them. And so we deal with that conflict social media all the time. And a lot of the things that we deal with on Monday is a result of what happened on social media over the weekend. So we encourage them, stay away from social media if you're having issues there. And the last thing we encourage our students to do is to join some type of activity, take some part in a club that you can be a part of in order to meet new kids and familiar kids. And that way, you're protecting yourself once again because we found that there's safety in numbers. What do we do when we get a bullying report? The first thing we do is we're going to investigate it. And we have forms that we use called a bullying and a harassment form. We'll fill out that form, and on the form it instructs us to contact both parents, the aggressor, as well as the victim. And we'll do that, and if corrective action is needed, we'll also do that, and we will create a safety plan if we really investigated it, and the conclusion is that this student is a victim, then we may even go as far as to do that. And here are some of the things that we plan during the month of October. We've had everything from videos, music, banners and posters, ribbon weekends tied into it. We had guest speakers to come in. We've done kindness adventures, law enforcement, pep rallies. We've pretty much done it all. At Oak Park Elementary here, we had a bullying prevention informational meeting where the parents were allowed to come out and meet and discuss what would bullying look like, how to identify it, and how to encourage the students to be what we call an upstander and report things that need to be reported. At South Haven Middle School, we want to remind all students to keep the eye in kind. And as you all see, the Project Connect piece on the right-hand side, that's where the students made a pledge to do something positive. And the blue solid color links are teachers actually catching students doing something good throughout the building. And there's a competition between all grade levels to have the largest link, and that's promoted good positive behavior throughout the school. Horn Lake Elementary invited a guest speaker, Jordan Hurst, to come in. This young man, I met with him. He's very motivational. He encourages the students to not bully as well as to be great readers. And he authored a book, My Day at School, where he focuses on respect, and the students had a blast at Horn Lake Elementary. City Hill, they practiced one kind word can change someone's entire day. And Hernando Elementary had students actually greeting and meeting other students to come in the building with kind words. That's the first thing that they heard entering the building. Many of our elementary students focused on lessons from a book called The Bully and the Buddy. And you can look at the characteristics of the bully and the characteristics of the buddy and what to do when you see someone in need of a friend or when you see bullying going on. I'm wrapping up. At DeSoto Central Elementary, we had a student who he was featured on the news actually. In his third grade year, he approached the principals and wanted to start some type of anti-bullying project in the school, and so it caught on, and they've been meeting once a month since then, and it's been a great thing for that school. And on the right-hand side, that's Olive Branch Elementary School. They read from Dr. Seuss' book, Sneetches, and that's where you would go through the curtains there to get your start, and then they discussed appropriate behavior in dealing with students. And the last thing, anonymous reporting. I'm afraid to hit the button because I don't know if it'll work or not, so I just tell you board members what to do. If someone mentions bullying to you, the best resource that you have to give them is tell them to go to our website, DeSotoCountySchools.org. There's a yellow strip that runs about midway through the page there, and it's a find it fast, quick link. The third column, bullying reporting, is found at the very bottom of that page. But that's where we encourage all our parents to go in order to report it, and it comes to us, and they can either notify us or they can be anonymous, and we get those and we go out there and conduct an immediate investigation to make sure that we do what we need to do for those students. So unless you all have any questions for me, that's the end of my presentation.
Great report.
Thank you, Mr. Finley. We want to thank you for all of your hard work with Department of Student Services. You do an excellent job, and we appreciate that. And I know our board members and I, we talk about this all the time. Bullying has gotten to be so difficult now with social media. Years ago, people only had to face a bully at school, but now the bullies are with them 24/7 with social media, and it makes it so difficult. But I want to commend Mr. Finley and our principals, assistant principals, counselors, teachers, for all they do to take a proactive approach to making sure that our students are not bullied at school. At this time, I would like to introduce our teacher spotlight segment. We have got Dr. Jerry Float, principal of Fernando Middle Street. He will introduce this segment.
Good afternoon. I invited Mr. Reese Norris to come and speak today about our choir programs. He has been the choir director at Hernando Middle School for 22 years. He's taken it from its infancy stage to literally an internationally renowned program. It's done a wonderful job. Many of you probably are familiar with his programs, but without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Reese Norris.
Dr. Float, thank you for the invitation, and school board administrators, thank you for having me here. I couldn't say no, the opportunity to talk about my life's work at Hernando Middle School. So let's go all the way back to the spring of 1997. I was a senior at Delta State University and was going to the career fair where the schools send their personnel directors to set up. And when we walked in the door, they had a pamphlet there that told you how many different school districts were looking for someone in your major. You know, if you're a math teacher, all the school districts looking for a math teacher. Well, I'll scroll down to music, choral music, 2. 1 in some very small place in South Mississippi and in Memphis. And I'm from Senatobia, and I'm a bit of a homeboy, and I really wanted to go back to North Mississippi to teach, but there was nothing. And I'm walking around feeling kind of sorry for myself. I walked past the DeSoto County booth, and Charlie Alexander reached out and grabbed my arm and said, "Let me help you find a job." And I said, "Well, I'd love to, sir, but unfortunately, apparently you're not looking for a choir director." And he just folded his arms and said, "Interesting. Last night at the board, they approved a new choir director position at Hernando." You don't see the Lord's hand in that. Anyway, so that's how it started. In 1997, I walked into my job the first day. I had 32 students, not in one class, but total in the entire program. 20 metal folding chairs and a broken electric keyboard. And there's a picture of my first classroom. I showed this to my students. They were like, "Really? Come on, guys." It's in the 50s. But you get the idea. Now, just fast forward from 97 to the present day. This is a snapshot of my classroom now. Instead of 32 students, we're now hosting over 230 students. And it is a true privilege of mine to be able to teach brothers, sisters, cousins, and now many children of former students of mine each day. Now, what happened between 1997 and 2019? The short answer is a lot. The students have participated in unrivaled opportunities to experience the musical world because of their growth and their skill set. They've traveled places, you can see the list there, all over the United States to perform. And not only did they perform in gorgeous venues there, but even more importantly, in my opinion, they had the opportunity to work with world-class clinicians to improve their musical skill set. And the last little bit there is something that I'm very proud of, probably the most proud of, but it's hard to quantify. You don't get big shiny trophies for having literate children. But it's important to me that my students, that I work myself out of a job, that when they leave my classroom at the end of the 8th grade year, they don't need me anymore. They can pick up a piece of music, open it, and understand everything they see. And then on their own, without any assistance, take what they see and turn it into something beautiful for an audience. In addition to that, I will mention that I didn't grow up in the music world. My first choir I ever sang in was in college. I was a football player, that's what I did. And so I know all state. Now, I never played football with an all-state player, and I know that any coach that has an all-state player feels very fortunate to have one. Over the same course of time, Hernando Middle School has had 450 plus students named all-state. Now, what I want to talk to you about really here is something that's very special to me. It's some unique performance opportunities that are unique from each other, but they are common in this way. Hernando Middle School was the first and still the only middle school from the state of Mississippi to be selected for these very specific honors. And how did they get selected? Well, for most of them, it's an audition process. And not just you go live. This is you submit for them paperwork and 3 years worth of recordings for a blind panel of judges to go back and listen and then sort of filter through those. The first one I'll talk about is the Southern Division performance. Southern Division ACDA is a biannual conference that happens and incorporates 11 states. If you imagine the map and draw a line from Virginia to Louisiana, and everything southeast of that is the Southern Division. It's the strongest division in ACDA. And when you submit your recordings, you're not competing against middle school, children's choirs, middle school, high school, collegiate, adult community, professional choirs, all go into one lump. And if I remember correctly, for Southern Division 2010, there were 66 applying choirs, and the judges were tasked with deciding on 20. And to our benefit, Hernando Middle School was the first from the state of Mississippi to be selected for that honor. So you get to hear a very small clip of that choir performing in that venue. This is Riowana. It's an Australian piece that means circles. Bring for audio. And for internet. You might recognize some of those kids if it were closer. Then I want to focus on the National Conference for Middle School Choirs in 2012. This was a new conference. It is designed specifically for middle school choirs and middle school choir directors, and it's co-sponsored by ACDA and the Cambiata Institute. It's hosted in Dallas every year. 2012 was the inaugural conference. It's the first time they held it, and they decided to invite 4 choirs from around the nation to be the spotlight choirs for that performance, and we were honored to be one of those. This next little clip is Wapane. It's a Native American piece. This is in that performance in Dallas. I couldn't talk about choir without let you listening. Southern Division 2016, the same conference. Not only were we selected once, we were fortunate to be selected twice. This is from our theme song from this conference, True Colors. We move to the Oak National Conference. This organization is designed specifically to perpetuate a form of music literacy that was developed by Hungarian composer Zoltán Kodály. And they have a conference every year, and their performances are by special invitation only. And only one middle school was selected in 2018, again, the first from Mississippi. This is a quick clip, Sisi Nimoya, from that performance in Oklahoma City. I recognize some of them as well. Most people in the world consider Carnegie Hall to be the premier concert hall in the entire world. Opened in the late 1800s with the New World Symphony. This is the Hernando Middle School kids singing a piece that I wrote called Paper Crane in Carnegie Hall. And finally, a performance at the ACDA National Conference is considered the highest honor that an American choir can receive. Not only are we the only middle school from Mississippi to be selected, Fernando is the only secondary school, middle or high, in the 60-year history of the conference to be invited to perform. And here is the final clip from that. And if that's not the language that you typically speak, we also go to competitions. And that's our shiny trophy wall. We use that to recruit new students. Hundreds of superior ratings. The next two are really impressive, though. In that time span, 31 Best in Class awards and 19 Grand Sweepstakes Champions awards. But enough from me. I have asked these final people to speak on our behalf of the choir program: Adam Flaherty, Travis Singfield, Sarah Davis, Melinda Brown, and Will Brown. And I will yield my last 2 minutes to them.
Fernando Middle School Choir was such a pivotal point in my life. Middle school is weird for everyone. The choir was the only place that I felt comfortable, accepted, and respected.
Even at 12 or 13, I could produce art that was really not just a small town Mississippi, but on stages across the country.
HMS choir was much more than just another class on my school schedule. Choir was a family. The middle school years can be tough, but choir was the one place where everybody was equal. Everyone supported each other, and we pushed each other to be the best versions of ourselves.
About 80% of all of the great memories that I have from those years of my life were from being in that choir room.
I truly believe that the experiences that our children are having in the classroom, in their music classes, are building blocks that help build successful adults for our future. I love it when non-musical people hear our kids sing and they don't know what it is, but that the kids sound really good and that there's some magic going on in that choir.
To do that, it ingrained in me a sense of professionalism, of seriousness, of mindfulness to detail that I don't think a lot of people get until college or later. It introduced me to different sorts of people, and it provided me with a community in which I felt safe and cared about. And I think I'm a kinder, more capable human being as a result.
And I can honestly say that I would not be the person that I am today if it weren't for Reese.
Choir was a place where you could see very different people come together. Yes, in choir, I learned solfege and how to read music, but I also learned major life lessons, like that it's okay to be terrified of putting yourself out there, but in the end, you create lifelong friendships and beautiful music.
I think what makes the Hernando Middle School Choral Music Program so unique is starts with resource and how much time and energy he puts into every student who walks through that door, and then how committed he is to making excellent music. And in return, I think every student wants to reciprocate that passion and that commitment to excellence. I think it is important in his music, but more importantly in his classroom, it's about the human connection. And music just happens to be the venue that we do that.
That choir has completely changed my path, and I'm forever a better person for it.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Great presentation. Doris, you do an outstanding job at Fernando Middle School. I'm very proud of all your hard work, and I know I speak on behalf of our board members as far as the importance of fine arts in our schools, and it ties into what Mr. Finley was saying about being involved, and I think it really helps those students, just as your former student said, at that pivotal age here in middle school, to find something they can connect to, and it helps them academically, socially, emotionally, the whole gamut. And so keep up the great work. Please tell Carter I said hello too, and they have a great education family, and we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
Dr. Flo, we appreciate your leadership. an outstanding
Thank you guys for what you did. Thank you.
That concludes the superintendent.
Thank you, sir. Great presentation.
Y'all want to pack up as we move, feel free to do that. Not gonna interrupt us.
Okay, next item of business on the agenda is the attorney's report.
I have one report that I will give in executive session. It has to do with the ongoing litigation matter.
Okay. All right. Next item of business is the approval of the minutes from the October 3rd board meeting. And do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 3rd board meeting?
Make this motion.
Motion having been made, do we have a second? Motion and second having been made, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried, minutes are approved. Next item of business is the consent agenda, contains items A through I. Are there any changes to be made? If not, do we have a recommendation, Mr. Austin?
Mr. President, I recommend the board to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, based on the superintendent's recommendation for approval, do we have a motion to that effect?
Second
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion having been made and seconded, all those in favor, aye? Aye. Nay, ayes have it. The consent agenda items A through I are approved. Next item of business is under new business. Let's see, Mr. Williams, I think you're about every one of them, except Mr. Alexander, haven't you?
That is correct.
Item A are the bids for the 9th grade building at DeSoto Central High School.
Yes, sir. Bids were opened on October the 8th for construction of the 9th grade building at DeSoto Central High School. Bids were submitted by 5 contractor and construction companies. And the bid tabulation sheet is listed in your board packet. It's my recommendation to accept the lowest and best bid from Murphy and Son.
Okay. Any questions, comments, any board members, Mr. Williams? Not, your recommendation, Mr. Austin.
Mr. President, I recommend the board to approve the lowest and best bid from Murphy and Son for the 9th grade building at DeSoto High School.
Okay, based on the superintendent's recommendation for approval, do we have a motion to that effect? Motion having been made, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second having been made. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nay? Ayes have it. Bids for the 9th grade, building are approved. No bid as presented. Next item of business is the contractual agreement Murphy and Sons. Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. We're requesting the board's permission to enter into a contractual agreement with Murphy and Son for the 9th grade edition at DeSoto Central High School.
All right, sir. Any questions of Mr. Williams? Not, your recommendation, Mr. Austin.
Mr. President, I recommend the board to approve the contractual agreement with Murphy and Son for DeSoto Central High School.
Based on Mr. Austin's recommendation for approval, do we have a motion to that effect?
Make that motion.
Motion having been made, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second having been made, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Nay, ayes have it. Contractual agreement with Murphy and Sons is approved. Next item of business is emergency purchase, child nutrition department. Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. The Child Nutrition Department requested the emergency purchase of a milk cooler at Lewisburg Elementary. The cooler went out on 10/3/19. The emergency purchase was necessary to ensure that we met the health requirements necessary to have the milk at the school. I'm asking the board to approve the emergency purchase of the milk cooler at Lewisburg Elementary.
Based on Mr. Williams' presentation of emergency purchase, child nutrition department, your recommendation, Mr. Austin.
Mr. President, I recommend the board to approve the emergency purchase by the Child Nutrition Department.
Okay. Based on the superintendent's recommendation for approval, do we have a motion to that effect?
Make that motion.
Motion hasn't been made, do we have a second? Motion having been made and seconded, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nay, ayes have it, motion is approved. Next item of business, number D, is a request to name a road, Lake Commerce High School. Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. Lake Former High is requesting the name of the road that lies north of the faculty parking lot in honor of Miss Rhonda Geis. The name of the road would be Rhonda Geis Way. There's a map in the packet indicating where the road is located. The school feels that this is a small token of appreciation from Ms. Geis for all that she's given to the students, the teachers, and the community in the Lake Former area.
And that map is on your, in your packet thing, you know, you want to look at it. But, based on Mr. Williams' presentation of the request to name the road at Lake Commerce High School, for this guys, your recommendation, Mr. Superintendent.
Mr. President, I recommend the board to approve the naming of the road at Lake Former High School as Rhonda Geis Way.
Okay, based on Mr. Usleton's recommendation for approval, do we have a motion to that effect?
Make that motion.
Do we have a second? Motion having been made and seconded, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nays? No nays, ayes have it, the motion is approved, the road is approved from name change. Next item of business, number E, request to purchase vehicle for child nutrition department, Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. The Child Nutrition Department requested permission to purchase one van at the state contractor price. The vehicle will be used to carry supplies and food out to the schools. My recommendation is to approve the purchase of the vehicle for the Child Nutrition Department.
Okay. Based on Mr. Williams' presentation of the request to purchase vehicle for the child nutrition department, your recommendation, Mr. Austin.
Mr. President, I recommend to the board to approve the purchase of vehicle for the Child Nutrition Department.
Okay, based on the superintendent's recommendation for approval, do we have a motion to that effect? Motion having been made, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second having been made, all those in favor, aye? Aye. Nay, ayes have it, the request to purchase vehicle is approved. Next item of business is request to purchase vehicle for the plant maintenance department, Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. The Plant Maintenance Department is requesting permission to purchase a crew cab truck. We received quotes from Landers and Homer Skelton. It's my recommendation to go with the best and lowest quote from Landers Ford South.
Okay, based on Mr. Williams' description of the request to purchase vehicle at lowest price, the recommendation, Mr. Usleton.
Mr. President, I recommend the board to approve the purchase of a vehicle from Landers Ford South, lowest bid for the plant maintenance department.
Okay, based on Mr. Usleton's recommendation for approval, do we have a motion to that effect? Motion having been made, do we have a second? Motion and second having been made, all those in favor, aye? Aye. Nay, ayes have it, the request to purchase vehicle plant maintenance department is approved. Mr. Alexander, I believe this is the shortest personnel possible you ever presented.
He's not even gonna need a drink of water.
You think you can get through those 4 sheets?
Yes, sir. Pages 1 and 2, recommendations. Pages 3 is personnel changes, and page 4 is provisional list of 2 employees that are in certified position awaiting licensure, so they'll be paid $75 a day.
Okay.
Outstanding.
Yeah, yeah. Based on Mr. Alexander's presentation of 4 pages of personnel actions, your recommendation.
Mr. President, I recommend the board to approve personnel as presented.
Okay, based on the superintendent's recommendation for approval, do we have a motion to that effect? Motion having been made, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second having been made. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Nay. Ayes have it. Personnel is approved as presented. Okay, I need a motion for consideration of closed session to determine whether the board should stay in executive session for the following matters. The student matter regarding early graduation and ongoing litigation matters. Do we have a motion for consideration of closed session? Okay, motion having been made. Mr. Chase will come back and inform you as to whether. Oh, all right, we got a vote, it's going to be legal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Mr. Chase will come back and inform you as to whether the board will stay in executive session for those 2 matters.